Hey, good afternoon. This is Dan with Dan's Everything Outdoors, and today I'm going to show you something, a new project I just began working on. My boys and I are going to be going on a biking trip from Pittsburgh down to Washington, D.C. this summer. It's about a 335-mile trip. And they recommended on the trip that a hybrid bike would be the best bike, or maybe a mountain bike. And so I got a great idea. What if I take a BMX style bike on this trip? But then I only have a single speed. So I got to thinking, how can I have a BMX bike with multiple gears? So that got my gears to spin in a whole bunch of different directions. I got some more videos coming up on that. But for now, here's what I've got. I took and I found myself something that was very similar to my Redline SQB 26 bike, and that's a bicycle that's set up with an older style, the 80s style geometry of a BMX bike, only bigger. And it's a wonderful bike to ride, but it's only got one speed, and that is cruising on flat surfaces or downhill. Anytime you got to go uphill, it's just you're pushing so much pressure on your chain you think it's going to break. So what I did is I've got this bike right here. I went out and I found a bike with similar geometry of what I was looking for. Fairly lightweight bike, all aluminum, nice welds here, a good quality bike. The only thing this bike didn't have was disc brakes, but it didn't matter for what I wanted to use it for. But I wanted a bike that would have the geometry of I wanted a 22.5-inch top tube. This one came out to be about 21. So it was a little bit shorter than I wanted, but it would still work. The other thing I wanted to have this about my tube, center tube here, or for my seat, to be about 16 to 17 inches. So that fit the bill pretty well. The next thing I wanted was a chainstay of about 17 inches. So we're exactly at 17 inches for a chainstay. That's the main geometry I was looking for. What I decided to do was, let's take this bike and let's turn it into a BMX bike. And ran across a guy selling this bike, and really cool guy. When I met him, I really enjoyed talking to him, told him the project I was going to do, and he was, I think, excited as I was about doing it. And the only thing I was going to do with the upgrade on this bike was I was going to change out the handlebar and the neck on the bike. And that was the biggest problem too, because I needed to find one that had the right height, that wasn't too high, so it's similar to my Redline bike, but at the same time had the width that I needed for the gears and for the brakes and for the grips, had a nice sweep back. Okay, so that was kind of the challenge I had. Looked at a lot of different handlebars. I finally came across these handlebars, these Fairdales. They're steel handlebars, but they've got a 6 1/4 inch high, and they've got, I think, about it's a 10-degree sweep back and a 4-degree sweep up. So that looked like it's perfect. Once I put it on the bike, I could tell it was about right. Got these GT neck for this bike. This is a 22.2 millimeter bar, so I needed a BMX style neck as well. And what I did is I just took off these spacers from the bottom, and then I lowered this down and put them on top. So it's about right, it's about 1 inch from where I want it to be, but it rides really well. It's just so much, I can't tell you how much fun it is to ride this bike. And I can change gear, I can do wheelies now, put some different grips on there to kind of match the bike to make it look neat. Couldn't put regular BMX grips on there because then they have the little guard here that interferes with changing gears a little bit. I ended up putting on these really cool pedals called FOOKER pedals. These are really nice, grip your feet real well. It's got these stainless steel screws that come up, really good for grabbing your feet. Added a water bottle holder for a trip, tricked it out with these little caps here. And then the only other thing I did there is I put a pad here, like we used to do in the 80s. We used to put these pads on here. This is kind of pad that's you typically wrap around pipes and things like that, so you can get it at any type of home improvement store. And then the last thing I put for this bike is this big seat. Now, usually I wouldn't have this for a BMX bike, but because it's going to be, we're spending a good 5 to 8 hours a day on our bicycle, we wanted to have a nice seat, and that's a Bikeroo seat, real comfortable. This bike is a bike that my son is going to be taking on a trip. It fits him really well. I ended up getting another bike and doing the same thing to it that I'll share in another video. I can't think of any changes I'd make to it right now other than the tires. When I get done with the trip, I'm gonna put a little bit beefier tires on the bike. All right, these are good tires, but they'll probably be wore out a little bit when I get them back. I want to put a little bit fatter tires on it. The last thing I did to this is I put a couple hand grenades on here. All right, just so my son would have that extra bit of coolness when on this trip. We're gonna have a great time on this ride. Obviously on the trip, we're gonna raise the seat up a little bit to get maximum wattage out of the bike. But generally when I'm riding, I'm gonna ride a bike like this, the seat right about here, maybe a little bit lower if I'm doing some jumps, a little bit higher if I'm trying to ride some wheelies. Notice I said trying to ride some wheelies, because now that I've found a gearing that works for my pulling wheelies, I think I can learn to ride a wheelie pretty quick. Again, right? Because everything's different when you're a little bit older. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you liked the bike. I love it. Okay, I love the other bike I did, and I'm going to take some other bikes. I'm looking for one that's the perfect geometry. I haven't found it yet, but I think it's going to be an old Trek. Loving the bike. My hands aren't way down here. I'm not leaning all my weight on my arms anymore. I've got my arms up here, and now it's kind of a mix between a BMX mountain bike and the Cruiser all rolled into one package. It's so much fun to ride. Thanks for joining me today in Dan Living Outdoors. Please like the video and subscribe if you want to get more content of being outdoors and enjoying everything. Thank you and have a great day.